In a world run by a dark cabal of demonic forces, normal people are little more than chattel for the evil beings that rule them from the shadows. Enough about the real world, though. Onto the anime. No. Devilman Crybaby is a story about renowned beta Akira Fudo, who signs up to Hustlers University and undergoes limb-lengthening surgery in the process of giving his answer to the woman question. Ultraviolence.
The race war starts now!
Akira Fudo is the human equivalent of a family-friendly YouTuber, only capable of getting women wet by sniveling on them.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my
and becoming a sexual deviant as soon as he gets big. Devilman begins when his regular school life is interrupted by the arrival of Ryo Asuka, an American professor at Sandy Hook Elementary.
And I don't know what happened to Sandy Hook, but it's as phony as a $3 bill.
And Akira's childhood friend. Ryo's goal is to get Akira possessed by the demon Amon, and to that end takes him to a Black Sabbath concert.
He's possessed by a demon.
If you can't tell, this was released in the 70s. For some perspective, when Devilman was released, Israel was at war with the Arabs, and the United Kingdom wasn't even a part of the European Union. After almost 50 years of adaptations of
I've done it! I'm Devilman!
variable quality,
Fuck you!
Netflix released Devilman Crybaby in 2018, when Israel was at war with the Arabs and the United Kingdom. Hang on, let me come up with some better examples. You hardly need me to tell you how old the original manga is. It looks old enough to be an American presidential candidate, and has similar views on women. The bullies in the first chapter look and act like Popeye characters, and the art looks like it belongs in a newspaper. But if you want to hear more about the Devilman manga, that's best accomplished by contacting your local Gnostic sage and offering him some PCP. Crybaby, on the other hand, was adapted by Masaki Iwasa, the director responsible for some of the most unique anime ever made, like Tatami Galaxy and not right now. But before we begin, a couple of disclaimers. First, YouTube insists on infringing upon my God-given right to force children in the street to look at the vaginal prolapse tongue monster. If you don't know what that means, good. The point being, the only thing more extreme than Devilman's themes are its visuals, and the amount of censorship in this video. Second, Gonagai is a strange man. Masaki Iwasa is a being from beyond the pale. As such, many aspects of Devilman Crybaby are anything but normal. This includes audio, visual, and story elements. While none of it is meaningless, it feels like you're sat next to the Cat in the Hat at a funeral for the impact it has on the viewing experience. Well, at least the composer is normal.
Are you winning, son?
Another veteran of the child-flattening Olympics that was Japan Sings is Kensuke Ushio, the genius responsible for the soundtracks of Chainsaw Man and Devilman Crybaby. As you might expect, the OST is nothing short of perfect. Many of its songs blend a dark electronic tone with choral themes and a heavy bass that fits perfectly for the apocalyptic mood of Devilman. It's the exact kind of thing you would expect to be blaring out of a Cybertruck right before it turns a family of four into a fine mist. The soundtrack incorporates a lot of bizarre, discordant tones, creating a potent and unsettling atmosphere that's difficult to find outside of a German techno party. It's most effective when unsettling the listener and building tension for its moments of horror and action, like the dread felt when those same Germans must return to their job working as an industrial engineer at the Siemens factory, or the violent urges they experience upon seeing their beer price increase by €0.50 that makes them think, maybe, just maybe, the third time really is the charm. Not unlike the masculine urge to invade Russia by winter, the only way that the OST falls short is in occasional bad timing. Some of its most famous tracks are underutilized, whereas others can be repeated ad nauseam. On the subject of nausea, the visuals. That's unfair. This isn't ping-pong the animation.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Being a product of whatever tiny alien lives in and controls the exoskeleton that we know as Masaki Uasa, Devilman Crybaby is full of his unique creative flair, primarily in the visual department. The art style is far more minimalistic than most seasonal slop. However, unlike the irregular at Magic High School, also known as How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love My Sister, Crybaby has excellent motion. At the same time, there's enough visual detail that it doesn't look like it was animated with letter blocks. Devilman hits a perfect balance on the scale of Mob Psycho to Violet Evergarden that lets it portray complex action and emotion through both illustration and animation. Though, one part of the visuals I have been actively avoiding is... whatever that is. This is what I meant when I said weird. Listen, I get why they're running like furries trying to rip the last life-size Lopunny plushie out of the hands of an impoverished child, but that doesn't make it look any more normal. On the subject of horrific subhuman monsters.
Excuse me. I need your help. You need to kill me.
The demons' designs are downright inspired. Whenever they transform, the way their bodies mutate makes for some excellent body horror, which is only further elevated by the animation. I do not envy the animator who spent a dozen sleepless nights and missed the birth of his child while animating a woman's nipples, growing teeth, and... let's just call it reverse breastfeeding.
What the Sigma?
As previously mentioned, Devilman Crybaby follows Akira Fudo, a man with all of the edge of a Klein bottle, and his best friend, Ryo. Ryo is a somewhat complicated character, but for some reason, whenever he and Akira share the screen, there is the unmistakable scent of fruit.
I wouldn't work with the Devils as a spy, ever!
I know what you are!
Hell, his twinkish nature is even justified within the story. Unfortunately for our satanic sapphic, Akira's interests lie more in the heart of the series, Miki Makimura. Probably.
I did not have sexual relations with that man! I'm just kidding. I did. Possibly.
Miki is easily the character who went through the most significant changes between the manga and anime.
You pathetic human being! Kill yourself!
And forms a major part of its thematic core of love and compassion. That said, the only heartwarming in Devilman Crybaby involves gasoline and brimstone. Don't come to Devilman looking for a happy story.
I'm gonna come.
It's a tale about persevering, about compassion, and doesn't shy away from a world without either. That said, it certainly isn't perfect. The first half of the story is a mostly episodic exploration of the demonic, with the latter half of the story building towards the ultimate conclusion. The end of episode 7 onwards is where the story really goes off of the rails. I won't summarize the entire story, but here's just some of the things that happen in the final 3 episodes. Skip here to avoid spoilers.
Got your nose!
Demons take control of the US nuclear codes and try to destroy the world before God says "Nuh-uh" and eats a hemisphere. Ryo remembers he is literally Satan and is only in Japan because he walked there from Brazil. Akira solves a lynching by hugging people. His cat turns into this and does this, and then tells Akira about Jesus lore while fighting all of the devils in the world. Akira is nearly killed by hitherto unmentioned Demon King before being saved by an evil Furby.
Many fall in the face of chaos, but not this one. Not today.
And finally, the world explodes.
I don't give a shit.
This is only half of what happens in that time. The final episode is where the story really becomes a race to the bottom, though. The pace begins to break the land speed record, and a lot becomes lost in the stream of consciousness that is episode 10. Somehow even worse, though, is episode 9, where Akira flies over a lynching where innocent people have been tied to stakes and are being treated to an up-close look at Palestinian culture. Akira then gives a speech about why violence is bad and cries at them for 2 minutes. Okay, work with me here. Let's say there's a bear epidemic. People are being killed by bears in the streets, and the local Scandinavian population have begun revealing their true natures. At that point, you would be quite justified in slaughtering anyone who smells of fermented fish. While exercising your civil liberty to slaughter anyone who has evolved a complexion pale enough to hide in the snow from invading Russians, Smokey the Bear drops out of the sky and says, "Only you can prevent racial violence."
Stop! Don't kill me!
The normal reaction would be to be thankful that the local fur fest has saved you the trouble of having to go to them and collecting more ballistic geology. Instead, the mob realizes just how wrong they were after reading a Facebook post reminding them that, technically, furries are also human beings. Ultimately, the story does an excellent job of carrying its tragic themes and manages some real moments of emotional depth and despair. Outside of a couple of odd scenes and the demolition derby into an unfathomably deep hole that is the final episode, the story is a perfect tragedy. Akira faces a series of increasingly dire emotional tragedies, but keeps his motivation to persevere through them all, in spite of how dark things become. Crybaby makes for a near-perfect adaptation. Masaki Uesa's sometimes strange directorial and animation choices all enhance the story on some level, and Kensuke Ushio's soundtrack is an unexpected but perfect fit for the story. The only caveat to recommending anything by Gonagai are the extreme adult themes. If you're stiffer than a Catholic nun with spinal arthritis, and sex, violence, and sexual violence are too much for you, try watching something by a slightly more normal writer, like Cutie Honey. Wait, who wrote that? Thank you for watching the video. Comment anything you would like to see reviewed or anything you notice that could be improved with this video. I'll be moving to a bi-monthly schedule as I must increase the amount of time I spend hooked up to the wagey milk machine in order to please Lord Bezos. Finally, for every like and subscription, I shall execute one journalist at the following coordinates. For the feds watching, that was a joke, but not really.